Hi dear students, in this presentation we are going to refer the topic loss of biodiversity. Okay, so what is biodiversity? It is simply the total of all plants and animal in an area. The area, if you talk about the world, then it is the worldwide total plants and animals, simply known as biodiversity. So different species are living together within the earth. So it includes animals, plants, human beings, everything. So biodiversity means everything coexisting together. More than 15,500 species worldwide are facing threat, including 12% of bird species, 23% of mammal species, 32% of all amphibian species, and 31% of gymnosperm species. So that is well, it is very well known to us that most of the species are now endangered right now, and even you might have heard about the red list and all. ഒരുപാട് ജീവികളൊക്കെ റെഡ് ലിസ്റ്റിൽ ഇൻക്ലൂഡഡ് ആണ് ബിക്കോസ് ദേ ആർ ഗോയിങ് ടു ബി എക്സ്റ്റിങ്ക്ട് ഇൻ ദ വെരി നിയർ ഫ്യൂച്ചർ. The majority, the major reason for this extinction is because of the human invasion. So because of the pollution, everything, day by day the biodiversity is losing, or some species are permanently extinguished from the earth itself. So that is what is simply known as loss of biodiversity. The current rate of species extinction is 100 to 1000 times faster than pre-human times, and our activities are responsible for the faster rate. മുന്നേ മനുഷ്യൻ ഭൂമിയിൽ വരുന്നതിന് മുന്നേ ഉള്ള ഒരു റേറ്റുമായിട്ട് കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് 100 to 1000 times faster is that rate of loss of biodiversity when human beings or we think about the human times, okay, pre-human times. മനുഷ്യന് മുൻപുള്ള കാലഘട്ടങ്ങളിലും ബയോഡൈവേഴ്സിറ്റി ലോസ് ഉണ്ടാവാറുണ്ട്, പക്ഷേ the rate of biodiversity loss will be very less. നിങ്ങൾ മുന്നേ കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും some natural reasons are there for the loss of biodiversity. Of course, now the major reason is, of course, the human activity. So in the earlier stages, that we can say pre-human stage, we can say, at that time some natural causes, because of some natural reasons, this loss of biodiversity has happened. For an example, നിങ്ങൾ dinosaurs അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ചില ജീവികൾ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് നശിച്ചു പോയതൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. വോൾക്കാനിക് കറപ്ഷൻ അതുപോലെയുള്ള സഡൻ ക്ലൈമാറ്റിക് ചേഞ്ചസ് കൊണ്ടൊക്കെ സംഭവിക്കാം. ബട്ട് കമ്പയർ ടു ദാറ്റ് ഏജ്, നൗ ആഫ്റ്റർ ദ coming of the human being, what happens if you compare the rate of loss of biodiversity now, because of the human invasion, that rate is increasing too much, and now the rate is 100 to 1000 times faster than that of the old one. Now coming to the causes of the biodiversity losses, there are four major causes of biodiversity losses. The first one is habitat loss and fragmentation. Of course, all the species are having some particular habitat to survive. Those who are living in the cold, those species which is living in the cold condition cannot withstand the hot condition. So if the habitat is lost, means they will be extincted from the environment permanently. So they will lose for permanently. So habitat loss, mainly the habitat loss is because of the human invasion only. നമ്മൾ മൈനിങ് അതുപോലെയുള്ള ഒരുപാട് ഡിസ്ട്രക്റ്റീവ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴാണ് ഹാബിറ്റാറ്റ് ലോസ് ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത്. ചില ജീവികൾക്ക് ഒരു പർട്ടിക്കുലർ ഹാബിറ്റാറ്റിൽ മാത്രമേ ജീവിക്കാൻ പറ്റും. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു ഹാബിറ്റാറ്റിന് നമ്മൾ തകർക്കുമ്പോൾ സ്വാഭാവികമായിട്ട് അവർക്ക് പിന്നെ നിലനിൽപ്പില്ലാത്തൊരു സാഹചര്യം. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഹാബിറ്റാറ്റ് ലോസ് ഓർ ഫ്രാഗ്മെൻറ്റേഷൻ. സംടൈംസ് വിൽ ബി ഡിവൈഡിങ് ദ എൻറ്റയർ ഹാബിറ്റ് ഇൻ ടു. അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ പല സ്മോൾ റീജിയൻസ് ആയിട്ട്, ഇപ്പോൾ ഒരു വലിയൊരു ഫോറസ്റ്റ് ഏരിയ ഉണ്ടെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുക, ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഹാബിറ്റാറ്റ് ഫോർ എ പർട്ടിക്കുലർ സ്പീഷീസ്. ദെൻ ഇഫ് യു മേക്ക് സം റോഡ്സ് ആൻഡ് സം ഡെവലപ്മെൻറ്റൽ ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ് ആസ് എ പാർട്ട് ഓഫ് what we can say civilization or urbanization, we can say, that is the exact word. So as a part of urbanization, we are for our own comfort, we are making some changes in the habitat of the other one. See, if we are making some roads and all, some habitat is permanently lost. So that is what is known as fragmentation, dividing the habitat into different parts. So continuity will not be there. So all these are causing for the loss of biodiversity. Overexploitation, just like mining and all, that is overexploitation for our own greed. That is what is happening. Alien species invasion. Alien species means not species from other planet. It simply means the species introduced into a new habitat from another habitat. That is alien species invasion. So sometimes they can be dangerous for the other species. And the last reason is co-extinction. So always the species are depending on one another. If one species is extinct, mean automatically the other one is also becoming extinct because of the food chain and all. You might have studied about the food chain and all. If the food for some species is going to be extinct, mean they will not get the food. So automatically the co-extinction is going to be a reason for the extinction of the other species also. So all these are the reasons for the loss of biodiversity. Coming to the first point, habitat alteration, that is the first one, or habitat alteration or habitat loss or fragmentation, that is the exact word. It is the most important cause of extinction. Example, the tropical rainforest once covering 14% of the land surface of the earth, but now they cover only 6% of the land. You see, the forest is reducing gradually. Earlier, the tropical forest was around 14% of the total earth surface. Now it has reduced to 6%. That means that much habitat is permanently lost for the species which is depending on this tropical rainforest. So they won't get any other habitats. Of course, they cannot live along with the human beings also. So നമ്മൾ കടുവകളുടെയൊക്കെ കേസുകളൊക്കെ മെയിൻ റീസൺ ഇതൊക്കെ തന്നെയാണ്. അതായത് അവർക്ക് ജീവിക്കാനുള്ള സാഹചര്യം കുറഞ്ഞു വരുമ്പോൾ സ്വാഭാവികമായിട്ട് അവർക്ക് നാട്ടിലേക്ക് ഇറങ്ങുന്നത്. നാട്ടിലേക്ക് ഇറങ്ങുമ്പോൾ സ്വാഭാവികമായിട്ട് മനുഷ്യർക്ക് പ്രശ്നം വരുമ്പോൾ അവരത് കൊല്ലുക അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വേറെ ചെയ്യുക, അതാണ് ഓപ്ഷൻ. അപ്പോൾ അതാണ് മെയിനായിട്ട് സംഭവിക്കുന്നത്. സോ ഹാബിറ്റാറ്റ് ഇസ് ലോസ് മീൻസ് they cannot survive. Some species are adopted only for a particular climate and conditions and all. If they are not getting that climate condition, they will be losing their life permanently. Amazon rainforest, called the lungs of the planet, are cleared for cultivation of soybeans or are converted into grasslands for raising beef cattle. See, large destructions are taking place in the Amazon rainforest. All these things are because of the greed of human being only. See, either it is cleared for the cultivation of soybeans or are converted to grasslands for the raising of the beef cattle. So just to have the cattle, just for പശുക്കളെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അങ്ങനെയുള്ളതിനെ വളർത്തുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഗ്രാസ് ലാൻഡ്സ് ആയിട്ട് മാറ്റാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഒരുപാട് ഫോറസ്റ്റ് ഏരിയ നശിപ്പിക്കുക. So indirectly it is affecting human being also. See, Amazon rainforests were the major contributors of the oxygen production by the photosynthesis. So once it is lost means it is a permanent loss for the human being also. The loss of habitat deprives many animals and plants their homes and they face extinction. Degradation of many habitats by pollution threatens the survival of many species. See, along with this one, even though we are not altering the habitat of a particular species by pollution also, it becomes very difficult to survive for some species. See, water pollution will be creating a lot of problem for the aquatic life. So without knowing, they are permanently getting extinguished from the earth itself. When a large habitat is broken up into fragments, the population of mammals and birds with migratory habitats or requiring large territories are badly affected. See, some species are there like that, they require a large territory to survive. So once we are fragmenting a particular habitat into more number of habitats of small size, then of course they cannot freely survive within that habitat, and seems it very difficult for them to survive. Farming practices are farming practices are a major cause for the large destruction of the forest areas and all. So indirectly it is also causing for the habitat alteration. So clearing forests, hydroelectric dams, when hydroelectric dams are introduced, large forest area is lost permanently. Urbanization, of course, for our comfort we are making the forest areas into big towns. Grazing animals and livestock leads to the habitat. All these are altering the habitat of a particular species. See, നമ്മൾ മനുഷ്യർക്ക് എന്താണ് പിന്നെയും നമുക്ക് അഡോപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത് അതുമായിട്ട് ഇപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് തണുപ്പ് കൂടിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് അതിനനുസരിച്ചുള്ള വസ്ത്രങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റീവ് ക്ലോത്ത്സ് വെച്ചിട്ട് നമുക്ക് അതിനെ റെസിസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. പക്ഷേ ആനിമൽസിന് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് നോട്ട് പോസിബിൾ, പ്ലാന്റ്സിനും ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് നോട്ട് പോസിബിൾ. സോ alteration in the habitat is permanently causing for the loss of biodiversity. Now coming to the next one, that is overexploitation. When need turns to greed, that is the main reason for overexploitation. Whatever we need, if you take the resources from the environment, what we need, then it is okay for the environment and for the other living things also. But if need turns to greed, we are overexploiting or we are taking more than what we need, then it is going to be a threat for the other living creatures. It leads to exploitation of the natural resources. Many species become extinct. Example is Steller sea cow, passenger pigeon, many marine fishes become extinct due to the overexploitation by the humans. So see, directly in case of fishes and all, if we catch the fishes in a large amount, what happens is, if the catching that rate is much higher than that they can reproduce, then there can be a possibility that that species itself is extinguished. Okay, so overexploitation is another reason for the loss of biodiversity, and the next one is alien species invasion. Invasive species means species that enter new ecosystem and multiply, harming the native species and the habitats. See, some species once introduced into the newly habitat, it is increasing in a large number, so that it is endangering the other species which already existing in that particular habitat. So often, sometimes may not be of purposefully we are doing all this, and sometimes it can happen accidentally, even deliberately introduced by the humans also is there. Okay, when alien species are introduced in an area, some of them become invasive. Invasive means destruction for the others, and many cause extinction of the indigenous species. The illegal introduction of the African catfish, that is one of the best example for this alien species invasion. നമ്മൾ ആഫ്രിക്കൻ കാറ്റ്ഫിഷ് നമ്മളെ ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല, അപ്പോൾ അതിനെ എന്താണ് പോറ്റുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ്, മീൻസ് ഫോർ മീറ്റ് പർപ്പസ് ദേ ഹാവ് ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ്ഡ് ഇൻ ടു ഇന്ത്യ, ബട്ട് നൗ ദേ ഹാവ് റീച്ച്ഡ് ഇൻ ടു ദവർ നോർമൽ ഹാബിറ്റാറ്റ്, പുഴകളിലും ഒക്കെ എത്തിയത്. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് എ മേജർ കോസ് ഫോർ ദ ഡിസ്ട്രക്ഷൻ ഓഫ് ദി അവർ natural resources. Illegal introduction of the African catfish for aquaculture purpose is posing threat to the indigenous catfish in our rivers. So our own types of catfish are being permanently extinguished from that because of this introduction of the catfish. ഇതൊരു വലിയ സൈസുള്ള മീനാണ്, അപ്പോൾ അത് ബാക്കിയുള്ള എല്ലാവരും ഒരു വകയുള്ള ചെറിയ സ്പീഷീസിനൊക്കെ അത് തിന്ന് തീർക്കുകയാണ്. അതിൻ്റെ വേറൊരു പ്രശ്നം എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ അത് അതിൻ്റെ ഇൻക്രീസിങ് റേറ്റ്, അത് കുട്ടികൾ ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന റേറ്റും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ വളർന്ന് വലുതാകുന്ന റേറ്റും ഭയങ്കര ഹൈ ആണ്. കുറച്ച് കഴിയുമ്പോഴേക്ക് ബാക്കിയുള്ള സ്പീഷീസ് കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് അത് തിന്നു തീർക്കുന്നൊരവസ്ഥ വരും. സോ ഓൺലി തിങ് റിമൈനിങ് വിൽ ബി ദിസ് ആഫ്രിക്കൻ കാറ്റ്ഫിഷ്. ഓൾ അതർ natural or our own species of the fishes will be permanently extinguished. That is also going to happen in future. So alien species invasion is a major threat for the loss of biodiversity. The next thing which is contributing to the loss of biodiversity is co-extinction. I have already explained. When a species become extinct, the plant and the animal species associated with it also is becoming extinct. Example, when a host fish becomes extinct, its unique parasites also become extinct. So some species will be depending on the other species, without which they cannot survive. That is what is happening in co-extinction. See, if one species is permanently lost, means the other one have no other alternative. See, for food purpose and all, they will be depending on this one. They won't get food and all, so that means it will cause for the extinction of the, indirectly it is causing for the extinction of the other species also. Those species which are depending on each other, once one species lost means other one is also going to be extinct. Similarly, when one partner or co-evolved pollinator mutualisms become extinct, the other partner also have the same fate. Okay, now coming to the mainly man-made reasons for the loss of biodiversity. First one is the pollution. Water pollution, agriculture runoff, air pollution, oil and chemical spill are main reason for the loss of biodiversity. So all these are becoming pollution. Water pollution, we are delivering a lot of plastics into the water bodies and all, that is indirectly having and creating a lot of problem for the aquatic life. Agriculture, we are using a lot of fertilizers for the improved production. We will be using a lot of fertilizers, which in turn is going to be a problem for the aquatic life. Finally, it will be reaching the water bodies along with the rainwater and all. So that is becoming more and more difficult for the aquatic life to survive. So chemical content is increasing more in the water bodies. So even though it is directly influencing the availability of the oxygen for the aquatic life also. Similarly, air pollution is a major reason for the extinction of the many of the species. Oil and chemical spills are the main reason for loss of biodiversity. So all these are coming because of the activities of the human, and pollution is the major reason only because of the human beings. So it indirectly is affecting the biodiversity and cause for loss of biodiversity. Now the last one is human impact. Of course, besides a couple of isolated cases, the reason for much of the loss of biodiversity is due to human society. All the above mentioned reasons, directly or indirectly, are due to the human impact only. So we see if co-extinction is happening, one species is becoming extinct. That means maybe the reason will be only because of the influence of the human being only. So either directly, all the points mentioned above, either directly or indirectly, is depending on the human activities. So these are all reasons for the loss of biodiversity. Now, sorry, these are all the causes for the biodiversity. Now coming to the reasons for conservation of biodiversity, why we conserve biodiversity. The reason for conservation of biodiversity can be grouped into following three categories. First one, narrowly utilitarian reason, and broadly utilitarian reason, and third one, ethical reasons. Narrowly utilitarian reasons means these are obvious reasons. Human being derive countless direct economic benefit from natural sources such as cereals, pulse, fruits, firewood, fiber, construction materials, industrial products, etc., and products of medicinal importance. More than 25% of the drugs are derived from plants, and about 25,000 species of plants are used by native people as traditional medicine. Now, more and more resources are put into prospecting, that is, exploring molecular, genetic, and species level diversity of products, economic, to know the economic use of the plants. So, all these are narrowly utilitarian reasons. See, once we have the biodiversity, then only all these points mentioned are to be fulfilled. See, we will be depending on most of the plants as our for medicinal purpose and all. Once biodiversity is lost, means we will not have that access and all. So see, more than 25% of the drugs are derived from the plants. So once all these species are lost, means we cannot produce such things and all. And indirectly also we will be directly depending on the nature for a lot of things. See, human being derive countless direct economic benefit from the nature, such as cereals, pulses, fruits. So we are getting lot of things from the nature. So once it is getting extinguished, means the access to that such things will be lost permanently. So that is indirectly. That is why the narrowly utilitarian reasons. This is not major reasons, but still narrowly. Once it becomes extinct, then only we will face the difficulty of that one. So these are all the reasons for narrowly utilitarian. So because of all these narrowly utilitarian reasons, we have to preserve our biodiversity. Then only our we can survive ourselves. Okay, that is the reason. So now coming to the broadly utilitarian reasons, that is somewhat major reasons. Biodiversity plays a major role in any ecosystem service provided by the nature. This includes production of oxygen. See, we cannot even think about the situation without oxygen. So production of oxygen is a major thing. So Amazon forest produces 20% of the total oxygen in the Earth atmosphere through photosynthesis. See, now we are creating lot of issues, lot of problems through the Amazon forest and all. Around it has reduced from 20% to around 10% or something like that. So that much destruction already we have done. So finally, if you go in this rate, what happens is finally the production of oxygen will not be there from that Amazon forest and all. So that is mainly or adversely it is going to be a threat for the human being also. So that's why it is classified into broadly utilitarian category. Now pollination of the plants through bees, humbles, bees, birds and bats, without which they cannot give fruits and seeds. ചില സസ്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ അങ്ങനെ മാത്രമേ ആവും. അതായത് പോളിനേഷൻ അതിൻ്റെ അടുത്ത ഫർദർ സ്റ്റെപ്പിലേക്കുള്ള സീഡ്സൊക്കെ ക്യാരി ചെയ്ത് പോയി വേറെ അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെയാണ്. അത് ചില എന്താ പറയുക, ചില പക്ഷികൾ ചില കായ തിന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ മാത്രമേ ആ വിത്ത് മുളക്കുള്ളൂ. അപ്പോൾ ഫോർ ദാറ്റ് പർപ്പസ്, പോളിനേഷൻ പർപ്പസ്, സം സ്പീഷീസ് ആർ ഡയറക്ട്ലി ഡിപ്പെൻഡിങ്. ഇഫ് ദ എക്സ്റ്റൻഷൻ ഓഫ് സച്ച് സ്പീഷീസ് മീൻസ് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഇൻഡയറക്ട്ലി എ കോസ് ഫോർ ദ എക്സ്റ്റൻഷൻ ഓഫ് ദ അതർ വൺ ആൾസോ. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഇഷ്യൂസ് വരാം, പോളിനേഷൻ ഇഷ്യൂസ്. അസ്തെറ്റിക് പ്ലഷർ ഫോർ വാക്കിംഗ് ത്രൂ ദ tick woods, watching spring flowers. So this is again broadly utilitarian. Once these biodiversity is lost means see, we are depending too much on the nature for the pleasure purpose and all. നമ്മൾ ടൂറൊക്കെ പോകുമ്പോൾ നല്ല അങ്ങനെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ കാണാമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് ഭയങ്കര സന്തോഷമുള്ള കാര്യമാണ്. സോ ദാറ്റ് pleasure things and all will be permanently lost. So these are all the broadly utilitarian categories. Now because of ethical reason also we have to preserve our biodiversity. Ethical reason, every species has intrinsic value even if it may not be ഇറ്റ് മേ നോട്ട് ബി ഓഫ് കറണ്ട് എക്കണോമിക് വാല്യൂ ടു അസ്. നമുക്ക് യാതൊരു യൂസ്ഫുൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ പോലും അവർക്ക് അവരുടേതായ ജീവിക്കാനുള്ള അവകാശമുണ്ട്. സോ വി ഹാവ് ടു സർവൈവ്, പ്രൊട്ടക്ട് ദം. വി ഹാവ് നോർമൽ moral duty to care of their well-being and pass on the biological legacy in a good order to future generations. So all because of ethical reason also, we have to protect our biodiversity. So these are the three major reasons for conservation of the biodiversity. Now, what are the how we can conserve the biodiversity, that you have to think about. Even I am not discussing in this presentation about that one. So that you have to study yourself. Okay, how we can protect the biodiversity, how we can reduce this loss of biodiversity, that you have to think about. See, what are the major causes for the biodiversity I have explained here. If you stop all these things, then itself we can reduce the loss of biodiversity. So if the question is asked in that pattern, you have to write accordingly. Okay, refer that topic also. Thank you.